Hi, everyone. Welcome to our last round of video workshops. I can't believe that. So essay 4. Okay, let's get started. Okay, let's take a quick look at our checklist for week 15. So today we are doing our video activities, and those along with the reverse outline will be due by the end of the day on Friday. And then Monday and Tuesday, we won't have class, but I just wanted to let you know I'll be available for office hours. So 1 to 2 with the usual Zoom link. So if you'd like to talk over your essay or have any questions, you're definitely welcome to stop by. Right, and then Wednesday, the 16th, that's when the final draft of essay 4 is due by the end of the day. Okay, for part 1 of our workshop, we are going to focus again a little bit more on progression. So thinking about our topic sentences and how they can offer transitions between our body paragraphs. Okay, so this is a little bit of review. So let's take a look at our logical relationships to keep those in mind as we think about forming transitions between the body paragraphs of our final draft of essay 4. So again, we have cause and effect. And so our logical connectives, or in other words and phrases we can use to communicate this cause and effect relationship. As a result, causes leads to impacts, changes, results in, because, given that this is the case, if this, then this, consequently, therefore, and lots of others. Okay, and also intensification. So if you are kind of addressing a situation, an issue, in one paragraph that becomes more intense in the next body paragraph, then intensification might be the logical relationship that you're working with. And so some logical connectives you can use to express that sense of intensification is intensified by, is compounded by, is exacerbated by, is further, and then you supply your verb. So it could be controlled, complicated, etc. Okay, and then also contrast and complication. So here, um, this is what we can use when we want to avoid absolute either or, black and white, kind of all or nothing thinking, to generate some complexity. And this is certainly what we're focusing on doing for essay 4. And so we'll take a look at the reverse outline. So part of that assignment is structured to help you generate a thesis statement that adds a complication to get you higher up in the grading criteria. And so logical connectives to express contrast or complication. However, at the same time, although, while, whereas, but. Okay, so what we have here are some sample topic sentences from an essay written in response to a different prompt. Okay, so body paragraph 1, the topic sentence is starting at birth, identity is highly controlled by both biological and parental influences. Body paragraph 2, as a person grows and takes the biological and parental influences taught to them in the home out into the world, their identity becomes further controlled by the societal and cultural norms that the person's psychological defenses prompt them to accept. Body paragraph 3, even though identity is largely controlled through parental and societal influences, a person can moderately control part of their identity by consciously associating with aspects of their lives that constitute their version of happiness. And body paragraph 4, as a result of discovering happiness through experiences that are independent of the influences a person has previously been compelled to adapt to, they're able to meld together what their identity was with what they want it to be. In other words, they are able to synthesize the identity that was taught to them with the identity they have developed through their independent pursuit of what makes them happy. Okay, and part of the reason why I like this series of topic sentences is that the topic sentence here for body paragraph 4 reminds us that topic sentences can be 1 to 2 sentences long. Okay, so it can take 2 sentences to give you the space to both transition between body paragraphs and to set up the new main idea of the new paragraph. Okay, and so here we're going to pause. So focusing first on the first 2 body paragraphs, our first question, 1A, so what words or phrases, in other words, what logical connectives in the topic sentence for body paragraph 2 here help the writer to establish a transition between body paragraph 1 and body paragraph 2? So where do we see logical connectives here that function as a transition? Okay, and question 1B. So based on the logical connectives that you identified here, those words and phrases that are doing the transitional work from body paragraph 1 to 2, what is the logical relationship that links body paragraph 2 to body paragraph 1? Okay, so let's take a look here. So the words and phrases here that communicate a sense of transition. So body paragraph 1, the main idea starts with this idea of identity being controlled by particular factors. Okay, and then when we get to the topic sentence of body paragraph 2, we talk about identity becoming further controlled by these other influences, right? So we start with biological and parental influences, and identity becomes even more controlled when you add societal and cultural norms. Okay, so the sense of further, right? And then you add your verb. So we saw that in our review. Okay, and then 1B, what's the logical relationship? Well, it's intensification, right? So it was controlled, and the word further, right, becomes further controlled or further intensified or further complicated, whatever the situation is. Okay, so now let's take a look at body paragraph 2 and body paragraph 3. So 2A, what words or phrases, again, logical connectives in the topic sentence for body paragraph 3, help the writer to establish a transition between body paragraph 2 and body paragraph 3? Okay, and getting ahead of myself. Okay, so question 2B. So now we look at the logical relationship. So based on the words and phrases that we found here that are doing our transitional work, our logical connectives, what would we say is the logical relationship that serves to connect body paragraph 2 and 3 so that we get that nice sense of clear progression that is the hallmark of essays in the B to A range? Okay, so the logical connectives, right? So this sense of even though this is the case, right? The point I made in body paragraph 2. And here the writer is pulling down the idea from paragraph 2, but also body paragraph 1. For our purposes, you only need to pull down the idea from the previous body paragraph. So even though this is the case, what I just discussed, a person can moderately control their identity. Okay, so even though transitional word or phrase are logical connective, in other words, and so now let's take a look at the logical relationship. So even though is contrast and complication, right? So this could also be while, right? So while identity is largely controlled through parental and social influences, a person can moderately, it would be the same thing. Um, it could be however. So identity is largely controlled through parental and societal influences, semicolon or period. However, a person can moderately control, right? So we have lots of different ways that you can express a particular logical relationship. And that's good that you have choices for logical connectives, because what that means is by the time you come back to revise your thesis statement, you can express the same logical relationships with different words. right? So you don't really want your topic sentences to word for word repeat the you don't want your topic sentences to word by word repeat the thesis statement or its sentence structure, and vice versa, right? So kind of varying the logical connectives you use can be a helpful way to do that. Okay, now if we look at body paragraph 3 to body paragraph 4, so again, what are our logical connectives here? And what is the logical relationship? Okay, so logical connectives as a result. Okay, which takes us to our logical relationship, which is cause and effect. So as a result, because, consequently, therefore, any of those phrases would signal the sense of cause and effect. Okay, so when we put it all together, body paragraph 1, right? Identity is highly controlled by biological and parental influences. Okay, and that control is intensified by societal and cultural norms, right? So intensification, we go from controlled to further controlled. And then 2 and 3 are linked by contrast complication. So even though this is the case, you can moderately control part of your identity, okay? And as a result, right, of associating with their version of happiness, right, you can end up kind of arriving at this synthesized sense of identity that combines these controlled aspects with identity with these versions of identity that are a product or a result of exploring our own happiness, right? Okay, so in other words, this is a good model because there's a strong, clear relationship between each of these body paragraphs, and it's a progressive one. So there's a clear sense of logical progression. So intensification, contrast, cause and effect. Okay, so basically from this model, what we can do is come up with a template for successful topic sentences that we can use for essay 4, our final draft, to make sure again that we have that clear sense of progression that can get us into the B to A range. Okay, so again, we want to kind of go through and mark what the main ideas of the paragraphs are. Okay, so here it's the sense of identity, again, being controlled by biological and parental influences. Okay, and notice how that gets dropped down into the first part of the topic sentence for the next paragraph, right? So this idea drops down, right? So as this happens, this other thing happens, right? So identity becomes further controlled by our new topic for body paragraph 2, which is societal and cultural norms. Okay, and as we shift to body paragraph 3, this notion of societal and cultural norms drops down again. It's the beginning of our topic sentence for body paragraph 3 at the beginning. And then we shift to the new main idea of body paragraph 3. And then same thing happens. So here, the main idea of body paragraph 3 drops down into the first part of the sentence for body paragraph 4. And then we shift to this new this new main idea for body paragraph 4. So in other words, with the structure of these sentences, for these topic sentences, they're linking the main idea of the body paragraph before it with the main idea of the new paragraph and linking those main ideas with a logical connective, right? So that transitional work happens not at the end of the previous body paragraph, but at the beginning of the new body paragraph, right? So you want to focus your body paragraphs on performing the second IC of our IC method from our body paragraph template, right? So kind of wrapping up that connection that you're making between Smarsh and Yoshino and connect it back to your topic sentence, back to your thesis, back to the question of the prompt, okay? And then rest on the topic sentence of the next paragraph, performing that transitional work for you. Because sometimes if you introduce the main idea of the next paragraph, let's say at the end of body paragraph 1, at the end of that paragraph, I want to start providing a transition. Well, if I do that and I introduce this new idea at the end of body paragraph one, what that can end up looking like to your reader is that you've introduced a claim that you don't end up supporting with textual evidence, right? You'll just kind of drop that claim in and then end the paragraph and then you move on, right? So again, don't introduce the main idea of the next paragraph until you get to the next paragraph. And then let that first 1 to 2 sentences transition for you. Okay, so back to our template. So often effective topic sentences include 3 main elements. So first, the main idea of the previous paragraph. So in other words, of course, we don't get a transitional sentence with body paragraph 1 because it's our first body paragraph. Okay, but once we get into body paragraph 2, then that topic sentence needs to include a transition. And so you want to drop down the main idea of body paragraph 1. So the main idea of the previous paragraph, and then the main idea of this new paragraph is our second element. And then those two get linked by logical connectives. Okay, so in other words, with this method, the first part of your topic sentence would refer back to the main idea of the previous paragraph, and then the second part of your topic sentence would point forward to the main idea of the new paragraph, right? So first you gesture back to what you covered in the previous paragraph, and you link it to this new main idea of this new paragraph. So depending on which logical connective you use, it may appear at the beginning of the sentence or in the middle. So that just depends. Okay, so now we're going to try this out with your ideas for essay 4. Okay, so question 4A. So at this stage in the drafting process, what is the main idea of your first body paragraph? So what do you plan to cover in body paragraph 1? Okay, and for B, so at this stage, again, this can change. This can be tentative because certainly we're going to do the reverse outline after this, and so things can change in that process. But at this stage, what is the main idea of your second body paragraph? For C, what is the logical relationship that links the main idea of your first body paragraph to the main idea of your second body paragraph? So in other words, generating um, a transition for that topic sentence. So you're transitioning between body paragraph 1 and body paragraph 2. And so you may not have figured out what the logical relationship is. If that's the case, then definitely now is a great opportunity to do that. So what logical relationship could link those main ideas? For D, what words or phrases, in other words, logical connectives, can you use to express this logical relationship? For E, draft a topic sentence for your first body paragraph expressing its main idea clearly. Okay, so here you can be revising, thinking through, and oftentimes, if you don't go back to the draft and you just rethink it, sometimes you'll find that you'll write a stronger version than what you did in the original. And for F, so now draft a topic sentence rather for your second body paragraph using our template here. Okay, so your topic sentence should include, again, the main idea of your first body paragraph, the main idea of this new paragraph, your second one, and a logical connective, a word or phrase that communicates the logical relationship that links the two main ideas in paragraphs. So make sure you have each of those components. Okay, so I look forward to reading those. And also when I get to see that kind of logical progression taking shape in your reverse outline, which we'll be talking a little bit more about. Okay, so again, now we want to think about the relationship between topic sentences and thesis statements, right? So whether you have gone back and rethought your thesis statement and you're working backwards from that thesis statement to develop topic sentences, or whether you reworked your body paragraphs and then the topic sentences, and now you're working backward from those topic sentences to your thesis statement. So either way, um, there should be this really close connection between topic sentences and thesis statements in a way that repeats the most important key terms, but then doesn't necessarily repeat all of the wording and the sentence structure, right? Because you don't want your topic sentences to sound repetitive to the reader. Okay, and so for our particular example, the writer came up with this thesis statement. So identity is largely controlled, right? So we still have this notion of control, which is an important concept. So that stayed the same. Since birth, so notice this sentence structure is different. Here it's starting at birth, and this is identity is largely controlled since birth. So sentence structure is different, so that's good. By biological factors and parental values, that's a little bit different, taught in the home. In the process of maturing, a person's identity becomes further controlled by societal influences. Okay, so note this process of maturing, that's a little different than the sentence structure here, but we still have this notion of societal influences. And, the heart of our logical relationship, our logical connective stays the same, right? So we still have the sense of further controlled, okay, which their unconscious minds encourage them to accept. However, okay, here's our cause and effect, right? But again, we're using different logical connectives to express it, so it doesn't sound repetitive to the reader. So in our topic sentence, we had as a result to communicate cause and effect. Here we have however. However, once a person becomes capable of this, then this more coherent, synthesized sense of identity is able to appear. Okay, so again, the exact same logical relationships, right? So intensification, here's intensification, contrast complication, it's here in the however, whereas before it was even though, and then as a result. So once this happens, then this happens as a result. Right, so it's all there. So kind of think through this and maybe come back, in the process of doing the reverse outline and see if, reviewing how these connect can help brainstorm how you can vary your thesis statement from your topic sentences while still, again, maintaining the key terms that you need to keep the same, right? And maintaining the same logical relationships. Okay, so now you are well on your way to completing the reverse outline for essay 4. And I strongly encourage you then to use our topic sentence template when you draft those topic sentences, right? So that notion of dropping down the main idea from the previous paragraph and linking it to the main idea of the new paragraph using logical connectives. Okay, but before you finish that reverse outline, um, stay tuned to our next video where we're going to discuss a few more strategies for moving our essays into the B and A range. Okay, I'll see you in the next one.